Access all areas on 92.5 Phoenix FM with the Blanchardstown Centre for Independent Living in association with the Disability Federation of Ireland.
You got to live your
Hello and welcome to Access All Areas, the show for the disability community here on Phoenix 92.5 FM. I'm Michael Ryan.
And I'm Nisha Pai. And as you can hear, we're not in our normal studio today. We are coming to you live from the Clarion Hotel in the IFSC, where we will be speaking with some of the recipients of a grant scheme through the National Advisory Group on Independent Living.
So, Gary Lee is with the Centre for Independent Living at Carmichael House and is one of the administrators of the National Advisory Group scheme. Can you tell us a little bit about the scheme and how it came about, Gary?
Well, the scheme, Michael, is about it's really about promoting the concept of independent living and the philosophy of independent living. And I suppose maybe your listeners might want to know a little bit about independent living. It's really about facilitating people with disabilities to live life as they want to live it. It's about choice, and it's about allowing people with disabilities to choose the life that they want to lead themselves. And the purpose really of the National Advisory Group really is to foster the development of partnership and solidarity between all groups within the independent living community. The National Advisory Group itself is made up of representatives from the Centre for Independent Living, including the Centre for Independent Living in Carmichael House. Also representatives from various umbrella disability organisations such as the DFI, and representatives from relevant government departments and agencies such as Citizens Information and FOSS. And I suppose what NAG does, it focuses on advancing the operational development of services that accept and include the philosophy of independent living into the mainstream agenda and also service planning. We had 9.
Sorry, can you just ask, what were the normal size of the grants that were given out this year?
They varied. There was grants given for local, regional and national projects. So it varied from around €2,500 to €5,000 to €10,000. And they were the size of the grants. We had 9 projects, and we had a fair old geographical spread in terms of the projects. We had projects running in Donegal, down to Cork, from Dublin over to Roscommon. So we had a good geographical spread in terms of the grants and how the grant monies were distributed.
And did you find it difficult to get the funding this year to distribute this, because in this climate there aren't that many grant schemes around?
Well, we could always do with more funding, Michael. There's no doubt about that. And going forward, we will definitely in the coming years we will definitely need more funding for NAG. And it's the buzzword is value for money. I travelled along with my colleague Nina Byrne. We travelled around to each of the NAG projects, and really, when you see the amount of money that we handed over and the amount of work that they did on the ground, you're just trying to tally the two. Is that how can they do so much with such a small budget?
We're on a tight schedule today, Gary, so I'm going to have to leave it there for now. Our timekeeper, Natasha, is going to give us the buzz when we get to 2.5 minutes per interview. So,
we'll move on to speak to the recipients, and I'm going to come back to you, Gary, because you going to represent the Cork Centre for Independent Living. Is that right?
That's right. I had the very good fortune of going around to each of the 9 projects during the past 12 months, and one of the projects that I visited was Cork. And really what Cork did is they had a collaboration between Cork City Partnership staff, which included the local employment staff and CIL Cork. And really it was to bring a momentum to the existing peer forum group that was there by having various inputs by mediators, liaison officers, they had talks, for example, on law and that sort of thing. So it brought people together over a period of about 10 or 12 weeks, and it really, I suppose, had a dual aim, which was to give an incentive to the leaders to attend the peer forum meetings, where there was a direct training input from a community worker on a relevant topic, as I said, be it employment or law or whatever, and then the other strand to that was that they actually benefited from meeting other leaders as well. So it brought leaders together as a group. When I say leaders, I mean people with disabilities that would avail of personal assistance service hours.
And how big is this? Was this service then provided?
The group had 13 leaders, and my understanding is what's happened from there is that it's surviving past the actual pilot project that we have now, and it's actually going to turn into a leader forum, which I know my colleague Nisha Cunningham will be talking about in greater detail later on during your show.
Thank you, Gary. That's great.
So next up is Mary Ganley from the Roscommon Centre for Independent Living, and my understanding is you're going to do a series of workshops around independent living and related disability topics. So can you tell us a little bit, Mary, about what kind of topics are going to be covered there?
What we are doing is we're trying to motivate all our service users to come together and form a forum. And we've enough trouble in Roscommon trying to get them all together and come in and run the project themselves, like learning how to lobby, get involved in other say boards like HSE or everything. Just promote the whole independent living. We really want them to run our centre. Just get together, and we find it very hard to get people to come, whether they want to be in their own place doing their own thing. But with the help of Nisha over here, she's coming to do a bit of workshop with us to try and get that going,
So one of the challenges might be transport. Is that one of the things you're going to try and address in order to get people together?
Well, we have our own bus. We have our own transport. We could do with another, all right. Transport is very hard down our way because we're very rural. It's awful difficult. And now we got funding for our own bus through the MS Society and our government department. But we could do with another, because it's a huge area. Like, we've over 100 clients. And some of them are under 65, and we look after older people. We need to forget they do independent living as well. We can't forget them, and they're our biggest clients. Transport is the problem. Yeah.
And what kind of topics do you hope to cover?
Mostly independent living, how to run their service, have a voice. Most important, have a voice, and because some of them haven't got the confidence to speak out. So we're hoping that. Through our workshop that we build it up, I'm not the best speaker in the world.
You're doing very well, Mary. You're doing very well. That's great. Thanks for that, and good luck to Roscommon CIL.
Great, and now we move on to Maura O'Keefe from the Greater Dublin Independent Living. Maura, would you tell us an outline of your project?
Okay. We felt there was a niche in the market for peer mentoring service. We were getting a lot of calls from our members, some of them who perhaps were living in residential homes, who perhaps wanted to go and live independently, issues around finding jobs, going to college and all of this. So we decided about 9 months ago to apply to NAG for some funding to try and run this project. NAG duly came up with the funding. And we got it off the ground. We have 2 people heading it. Valerie Horgan is the project manager for it, ably assisted by Sinead Dunn and the rest of the staff in the office. We advertised and got, I think it was around 7 mentors who were fully trained. And we then went to match the mentee with the mentor. And there was criteria around this whereby it only went on for a certain length of time. It wasn't a case that the mentor became the mentee's friend and vice versa. So there was strict guidelines and structure around it. And it was kind of slow to start, but we find now we have quite a lot of people looking for this service.
And do you hope to change the health service system with the outcomes from the service? What do you think it could teach the health service?
What could it teach the health service? Wouldn't be too sure on that one. I don't think the health service listened too well to anybody, so I'm not sure we could teach them anything on that, but just maybe get a plug in here for us once again. In April of this year, we have actually once again got funding, and we're running a huge health conference in Croke Park in April. Can't remember the date, 19th of April. 19th of April in Croke Park, and we hope it'll be a great event, and like that we'll have the health service at it, so hopefully they might learn a few things at that.
They'll get a chance to listen to you. That's lovely. Thank you very much, Maura.
And so the fourth group to receive an award is Tipperary CIL, and to represent them here today is Adele Carey. Can you tell us a little bit about your scheme, Adele?
Our scheme started out, we applied for the funding again probably about 9 months ago as well. The original idea was that we'd do a personal development self-advocacy training programme, and at the end of it that we would produce a newsletter or a brochure. But having investigated that further, we realised that the job of the Citizens Advice CIB is that's their role. So we sort of re-examined it, and we applied for a project to provide personal development and self-advocacy for our leaders who find it hard, to advocate on behalf of themselves, find it hard to ask for what they're entitled to, or just generally find it hard maybe even just to say no to something in everyday life, not even relating to disability, just everyday scenarios that come up. So we had a slow start as well, in that we had a trainer organised who thankfully got full-time employment, so we had to go back to the drawing board. So we're actually in the middle of our project at the minute. I think we've 2 weeks left in it, and it's based over 2-hour sessions. We have 10 leaders taking part, and they have sort of designed the programme themselves. The facilitator has been excellent in that she came in with her ideas, but after the first day it's been led by the leaders, what they want to get out of it as regards their needs in relation to advocating on behalf of themselves and becoming as independent as they can be. And the lovely thing when we were talking last week, sort of preparing to come up here, is that they want to become a self-advocacy group and to continue the process, when the training has been finished, that it's not just a program that you do for 6 weeks and forget about it. They want to remain together as a self-advocacy group, and to set up a service that will facilitate other people, maybe other leaders who want to come in and become more independent in their life.
Super. Thanks very much for that, Adele.
And I just want to remind you that you're listening to Access All Areas, the show for the disability community, here on 92.5 Phoenix FM. And today we're in the Clarion Hotel, speaking to the recipients of a grant scheme through the National Advisory Group on Independent Living.
We just want to bring you one community notice for this week, and there's a new group in the north side of Dublin starting today, Thursday the 23rd of February, from 7 to 9 in Clongriffin in Dublin. So it's at Unit 60 Main Street, and it's for people who have any fibro condition, but fibromyalgia and people with multiple sclerosis, and it's a support group that is starting up there. So if you need any information on that, or you want to get in contact with Rachel, it's northside@fibroireland.com. Her mobile is 087 99 76 252. She would just ask that you text on that number as opposed to call. So maybe the handiest thing is email northside@fibroireland.com.